What's up, everybody? This is Mordecai from the Mordecai and Tony Show. Now, I'm actually doing something now that I've been putting off doing for quite a while now, and it is the results for my DNA analysis through 23andme. Now, this is the second one that I actually had done. The first one was through genebase.com. 23andme is the second one, but I've also had my raw data run through programs like Prometheus, gedmatch.com, and there's another one that I don't remember because, Dr. Doug McDonald, who is a geneticist. Now, little background on me. Like, me and my family are from Kentucky. When I did the genealogy information, I got all that through my grandmother's sister, who is the last living relative of those three, of the elders of the family. And she gave me all the information I needed to know, and I actually looked these people up, and I had some help from a lady named Cabin Sue off of ancestry.com. And thank you very much if you ever watched this video. Cabin Sue, thank you very much. I actually just went in, I put a little post up that said looking for the Hunts, the Andersons, the Gentrys, and the Rigneys of Garrett County, Kentucky. And she actually found those records for me, and she actually put them up. I went there, got that information, went back just to make sure that those were the appropriate people, from my mother to my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother, just to make sure that everyone was in the census record, just to make sure that I wasn't looking up a family that was not me. So thank you very much, Cabin Sue from Ancestry.com, and this is not, to give any other websites credit, but that was the website I found her on. But we're from Kentucky. My family has been in Kentucky from what I read. Now, only my mother's side has been there since 1840. He actually came from Virginia with his family. He was free. They weren't in the slave records. The whole time I'm looking for my black side of the family, I was actually looking in the slave records. Never found them. They weren't in the slave records. They were regular citizens of Garrett County, Kentucky. They owned farmland, they had jobs, and they could read. The majority of them could read, the majority of them couldn't, but this is 1800s. So everyone, even the ones that didn't look like me, were literate. The majority were illiterate. But they were porters, they were midwives. I don't even really know what a porter is, but then it was called a porter, and they were farmers. But I found all of that information, and I know my father's side of the family is from, well, his family is from Guyana, South America. And but with that in Kentucky, the majority population of Kentucky is white. So me and my brother predominantly grew up around white people. Anything that is not white is a minority in Kentucky. Kentucky is Kentucky, and I love it. Kentucky is beautiful. I love the people. I love our culture. I love everything about Kentucky. But I had 2 DNA tests done. The first one I was satisfied with, but I was satisfied, but I just wasn't sure that they had the information correct, because my whole life I've been told that I'm black, African American. My mom made sure that she was like, y'all are black men. I'm going to tell y'all how it is. I'm going to teach you how to act. But I didn't even learn how to be black until I moved to North Carolina when I was 18. And that was something that I was not ready for, and I still don't even think I got the hang of it, as far as those people were completely different from the people in Kentucky. When I lived in Kentucky, I didn't even know it was that many black people in the world, ever. Being young, you see what you see, you know what you know, you read what you read in the books. But when you actually are put in the thick of it, it was a culture shock. It was just something that I wasn't ready for, and I stayed there for 17 years, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't. It was just, it was too much. It was too much for me. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Anybody that grew up the way I did, it was too much for me. So I'm in a place now. I live at the beach in Florida, and the demographic here reminds me more of Kentucky. And to be truthful, I actually feel comfortable. I mean, I don't know if that makes sense to some people, but I actually feel comfortable. But anyway, back to this. Now, I'm actually going to turn the camera around and actually show you the breakdown of it. And if I look rough, I'm so sorry. I'm tired. I've been working all day, and I got home, and I said, I'm finally going to do this. And my birthday was yesterday, by the way, May the 18th, and I'm not going to tell nobody how old I am, because my internet age, I'm 28, and I will probably remain 28 until I start looking 40 or 50 or 60. And then I'm still going to take it down by 20 years. As long as I can get away with it, that's what I'm staying at. But now, with the first DNA test, I couldn't get how, now this is what I didn't understand, how I'm black, African American, but my paternal DNA is Western European. I don't look Western European. And my maternal DNA was Native American. So I cried. I was in shock. I even called one of my good white friends and just cried because I didn't understand how I had so much white blood in me. And then on top of it, my paternal DNA, which makes me genetically a man, is Western European. And the DNA that I got from my mother, the maternal DNA, came back Native American. So when I look in the mirror, I don't see Western European, and I don't see Native American. I see Mordecai, you know, the black Jew from Kentucky. Mordecai, nose, lips, super curly hair. Mordecai. But I cried and I didn't understand, so I even called the company. I called them in Canada, and I wanted to know why my DNA test came back the way it did with my paternal DNA being Western European. Excuse me. That was so nasty. But I called the woman, well, the operator, and she actually explained to me. She was like, you know, you are an African American and you live in America. 33% of the population, or the people that we have actually done genetic tests on, their DNA comes back Western European. The men, anyway. 33%, 1/3, that's a lot. I mean, but a lot went on then. So you can only imagine if the paternal DNA is passed on from son to son to son to son to son, then, of course, that's how I got my paternal DNA. And even if everybody else was black, and then this DNA got in there, that doesn't even matter. It still makes my paternal DNA Western European. Now, when I look at my mother and her brothers and sisters look, well, there's 9 of them. I would say that 7 of them look completely different than my brother and I. Now, they have thin noses, they have thin lips. My grandmother, God rest her soul, she passed away in 2008. Her name was Anna Catherine McGee. She had red hair and freckles and looked like Betty White. Go figure, right? I even have freckles a little bit. Like, doesn't even really matter, but I have freckles. And, but I always loved her skin color, and to this day, I'm in love. Well, I have a fancy for red hair and freckles, whether it be on black people or whether it be on white people. Now, I can honestly say, like, there's not too many white people that I find sexually attractive. There are a lot that I do. I find white women more sexually attractive than I find white men attractive, but I also find white men attractive too. Yeah, just not sexually attractive. Um, but with that, I just didn't understand how I could look so different and then be from two different ethnic groups, or I don't want to say races because we're all one race and that's the human race, but Native American maternal DNA, Western European paternal DNA, but on everything I've ever filled out has been African American or black. But I've always been asked, where am I from? And then when I guess people are not accepting of the fact when I say I'm from Kentucky, they say, no. Where are your parents from? I say, my mom was from Kentucky. Our family's been there since before 1840. And my father's part of the family is from Guyana, South America, West Indian, the top of South America. They're like, oh, okay. I knew you couldn't have been from here. One lady told me that I'm not like the others. She told me this when I was younger, and it's affected me. Not in a bad way, but I just always thought, how am I not like the others? I look exactly like them, so how am I not like them? Or the lady that came to me in well, I work for a company that I go to all the grocery stores and I sell their product, or I sell the product for the company in the grocery stores, and I've been to all of them, and oh my goodness. Ooh, you meet a whole lot of people. And where I live at, like I said, we're the minority. And it's like 0.1% African American, 0.1% Hispanic, probably like 1% to 2% Asian. And I'm only using that in a broad spectrum because that could be Indian from, East India or anywhere that they consider themselves to be Asian. But the lady came up to me and she said, can I ask you a question? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, would you happen to be African American? No, I'm sorry, or wrong conversation. She said, would you happen to be either Ethiopian or Jew? Actually Hebrew. And I said, yes, ma'am. I am a little bit of both of those. And she said, I can tell you just don't fit the typical angry African American profile. And I'm thinking in my head, like, who actually says this to someone? Actually. And of course you're going to say it when there's nobody else black around, So I didn't really get upset, but I guess I can understand what she was talking about. And I guess that's the way I grew up. And the privileges that I had, which were not a lot of privileges. You don't really see your parents bringing you up middle class as a privilege. That's just something that I guess you would expect for a parent to do. And thank you so much, Mother, and thank you so much, Father. I love you so much. And thank you for allowing me to grow up the way that you did, because I do understand that my life could be a whole lot harder. I've seen the riots in Baltimore, and I've lived through the Rodney King beating, and I've seen a lot of stuff, and I am like those people, 100% like those people. I look like those people. I may not act like those people or been through the same experiences as those people, because my experiences have been different, but I still am part of that group as far as I'm concerned. As far as my mother's concerned, my father, my brother, as far as we're all concerned. Grandmother, she was mixed. Grandmother was mixed. But anyway, enough about that. Now, with 23andme, because I already told you that with gene-based, that my paternal DNA came back Western European, my maternal DNA came back Native American, but when you look at me, you see an African American or a black male. I don't even want to say African American because none of my family has even, nobody in my family that I know has been to Africa. They've been to other countries. I have a sister in Germany, a half-sister that's mixed in Germany that I never met. I have family in South America that I never met, but I've never been to Africa, and even in the 1840 census record, well, it was Harriet Hunt and Pleasant Hunt. Those were the two. They spoke English and they wrote English. They could read and could write. So this is in the 1840s. So I don't even know what color they were, really. They had them listed as African American, or black, but even if you were Native American and you lived there and you didn't move out west, you were considered, they had you in the census record as black. There's been documented cases of when people had moved to the south that were Italians or Sicilian, and they were listed as black. They called them, white niggers. So that's, I said was past tense, or what they called past tense. But anyway, I'm tired. I'm just mumbling. But anyway, the DNA test from 23andme, the breakdown of it, shows me at 82.6% sub-Saharan African. And 60.9% of that is West African. 0.6% of that is Central and South African. 21.1% of that is broadly sub-Saharan African. So that's 21.1% is all over Africa, north, south, east, west, so 60.9% West African. Now my European DNA comes back at 14.1% European DNA. That is 0.7% British and Irish, 0.1% Finnish from Finland, 4.8% broadly Northern European, broad. You gotta do this when you do broad, because that's all of it, all of North Europe, Northern Europe. Then 0.1% Ashkenazi Jew, and 8.5% broadly European. But with the Ashkenazi, we knew that. I always knew that. My niece has Gaucher's disease. It's a disease that predominantly Eastern European Jews get. They have it, and there's 3 different forms of it. She has the form where her body just doesn't metabolize fat. So her medical bills are already over $1 million. She's going to live. She has a little pump in her chest that actually pumps the medicine that she needs to help her body out. Now, for the mother to have this trait and my brother to have this trait, we thought was unique, because when the doctor actually came to my brother and told him that my niece did not have leukemia, she'd had Gaucher's disease, she said that would be the equivalent of me finding a white person with sickle cell anemia. But a lot of Italians carry the sickle cell anemia trait, and that's only because the Moors invaded Italy and Spain. So that DNA is still there. That paternal DNA that made those men, the maternal DNA that made those women, that DNA is still there. The sickle cell anemia trait is in them, which the sickle cell anemia trait was an adaptation to malaria in Africa. And it's sickles. The cells are in the shape of a sickle. Actually, one of my exes had sickle cell anemia. They've already passed away. They were already, like 9 to 10 years older than me when I started dating them. But they have already passed away from sickle cell anemia. And, God rest their soul too, because that's a little sad. But with that done with the Ashkenazi Jew, because we already knew that, and then we practice Judaism, so we know that. And with my niece having the disease, which she got the trait from her mother and the father. Now check this out though. 50 years ago, or goodness grief, about 50 something years ago, my aunt had a child with the girl that is the mother of my niece that has Gaucher's disease. So our family has some background. The little girl died. She died like when she was 5 or 6. My mama said she was so beautiful. She looked like a little black porcelain doll. But then they said that it was spinal meningitis that she had died from. Now, it could have been Groucher's disease. She was, she got sick, and back then they just, said what it was. 50 years ago, it could have been spinal meningitis, but now that my family knows this information, we pretty much think it was one of the 3 forms of Groucher's disease. But then it also has me at 0.8% East Asian and Native American. 0.6 of that is Southeast Asian, and less than 0.1% of that is Native American. Less than 0.1% of that is Native American. Now, but then it has 0.1% broadly East Asian and Native American. So broadly East Asian and Native American. So what I did when I got the analysis from this, and it also shows the raw data, which is a big file. It's your whole genome, your whole sequence, your whole DNA sequence. But it was a large file, and I ended up sending it to Dr. Douglas McDonald. And I hope I'm using his title right. I think he's a geneticist. But anyway, everyone that was on the 23andme website that actually had Native American, they wanted to make sure, because he was asking, I take that back. I'm not saying that he was asking, because I don't want to give a false statement. But a lot of people were saying, well, send your information to him, send your information to him. So I did. And the 0 or less than 0.1% Native American DNA that was on 3 of my DNA markers. It was on 3 of them. Yeah, it came back, and he sent an email back saying that that small percentage of Native American actually did turn out to be a Native American. I already knew that. Grandmother told me everything. Everyone said that grandmother was crazy or she didn't know what she was talking about, but everything grandmama told me was true. Everything about our family background and her sister, everything. And then when I looked up the census records, I'm not going to say that I think the men played it smart, but I think the men played it smart because they all married mulatto women. I don't know what that means, but my family, I'm pretty sure they like red bones, yellow bones, red bones, whatever. But that's what they did. And when you look at the census record and you see that these are the only mulatto women in that town, you can't help but to feel sorry for them, because you can only imagine you're the minority of a minority of a minority, and you're the only one that looks like you in that town. So I felt for them when I actually saw the census records, and I saw they were the only mulattoes in the town. But and then 2.5% of that DNA is unassigned. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this around so you can actually see it for yourself. I'm so tired. And then you can see for yourself. Can you see that? So, I'm sorry this video went on so long and it's just me rambling, blah, 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 blah. But if you like, subscribe. If you have any comments, please do so. And thank you very much for going through this with me and listening to my little blah, blah, blah story about my DNA, my second DNA test. And with 23andme and my genetic background with my results and how I felt. I just want to say that if you feel that this is something that you're not ready for, you might probably want to wait, because when I cried, it was more because I kind of felt more for the women of my family, hoping that it was love and not forceful. You know, that how, you know, the members of our family became. You know, I felt bad for them, and I just hoped that all of it was consensual. And knowing that my family wasn't in the slave records, that was also something different that I also wasn't even ready for. A lot of this stuff you're told. I mean, one of the first movies I remember in school was Roots. They made us watch that with my classmate, and my best friend's name was James Moore. And don't forget, Master Moore was Chicken George's daddy. I was so pissed off at my friend. So fucking pissed off. I was mad at him because they showed us Roots. The first thing they showed us is that we were slaves. And all of us were not. All of our family members were not slaves. Actually owned farmland. And I'm pretty sure if my family, there was probably a plethora of other families that owned farmland and were not slaves. I even have actually saw the marriage records. Now, a lot of them didn't get married until 1865. Now, they had kids. A lot of the women were married at 13 and 12, but they didn't have babies until they were 18. I guess that was coming back then and shit, because you could fucking buy a person. Hell, Michelle Obama's great-great-great-grandmother was sold $475. I've sold Yorkies for more than that much. I mean, oh my God. But anyway, if you want to comment, please comment. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. Once again, this is Mordecai from the Mordecai and Tony Show. I hope that some people can learn something from this, and the DNA test is only $99 through 23andme. The one from GeneBase was like $189. I would only do this if you had a little bit of expendable income, or if this is just something that you can't put off from doing anymore. Because honestly, if I can say that if I would have known all of this, and I would have saw the census records and stuff a long time ago before I knew about any of this, I probably would have lived my life a little bit differently. Like, I would have, in my opinion, made my ancestors more proud. Even though I haven't done anything wrong, I have 2 jobs, I don't have a criminal record, have a vehicle, you know, live in a house on the freaking beach, you know, my life is okay for right now. But I'm pretty sure that if I would have known this years ago, 20 years ago, let's say, I probably would have done a whole lot more, a whole lot differently. And even though I want to experience these other cultures, my East Asian, my Southeast Asian culture, my Native American culture, my Finnish and British and Irish, my Northern European, my West African, my Central and South African, and the rest of my broad African background, my broad European background, my broad East Asian Native American background, I'm just comfortable with being a black American, because I try to reach out to people in Africa. The Yoruba, they didn't want to accept me. I've been to the Native American, the Cherokee Museum. They don't have anything about black people in that museum. They got the stuff of the Europeans that came, the settlers, the people that threw smallpox blankets onto the reservation, you know, that nearly wiped out their whole existence. They have stuff about them. They don't have anything about black people. Especially the one I went to in Cherokee, North Carolina. Nothing. Nothing whatsoever. Not one thing. And I was so pissed off that I paid for that tour and didn't even see anything, but I see all the stuff from the Europeans and stuff in there. I didn't fancy that too much. But it is my DNA. It's what I am. It's who I am. But I'm more comfortable, I can say, with just, I'm an American. That's what I am. I am an American. Not even a black American, because I'm all of America. I'm European. I'm African. I'm Native American. I'm Southeast Asian. You know, I'm Mordecai. I'm a Jew. So I love just being an American. That's what I am. My skin color should not even matter. I'm an American. Heinz 57. America made me. I'm all of America. And I'm proud to be an American. But let me go, because I know I'm boring y'all, because I'm boring myself. I'm sleeping. My feet hurt. And I'm old. My birthday was yesterday. Oh, and I want to say thank you so much to my co-workers. The surprise birthday party today was wonderful. I haven't had a birthday like this in 15, 16 years. I want to say thank you to my housemates that I live with. They surprised me last night. I got so much damn cake and ice cream, it is fucking pathetic. I mean, it is ridiculous. I'll be eating cake and ice cream for a very long time. But I should have told some people that I was lactose intolerant. But it's okay. We'll be gassy together. But I just want to say thank y'all so much. You really made my day last night. And you made my day today at work. So thank you so much, my co-workers and my housemates. And until next time, hopefully I'll have Tony. But his black ass was asleep. So I didn't want to wake him up. So I said I'll do the video by myself, because Tony is Native American, Cherokee Indian, and black. So maybe one day he'll get his DNA test done. But once again, thank you for tuning into the Mordecai and Tony show. And you have a great night. Bye-bye.